What is up, gamers? Staxwell's back at it again today with another market watch. Getting less frequent these days, so when I do upload, it feels like I just have so much to talk about and so much I have missed. So let's not waste any time. No Raid Shadow Legends ads. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it here. First card I want to talk about is Commanding Performance. With the new cards coming out in the Hunted, caring very much about hitting a marked hero, I think that Commanding Performance could find its way into the new Draconic Warrior. Your opponent, of course, incentivized to block you out while they are marked, and then Commanding Performance kind of punishes them for blocking you out. So yeah, it just kind of puts them in a really rough catch-22. Also combos very nicely with the new Invoke card. I think it's called Invoke or Provoke, the new Warrior Blue that makes them block with an action from their hand. If the action happens to be an attack reaction, maybe that's all they have left in their hand, maybe you're playing against a Victor or something like that, you're going to be able to trigger your Commanding Performance a lot easier. Seems like a great pickup. Cheapest copy on the market is like $4 or $5 right now shipped, and they climb up rather quickly. So I would recommend getting them while you can. Next card I want to talk about is Spike with Frailty. The Spike with Blood Rot, the EA promo. Spike with Frailty is the one I want to talk about. But Spike with Blood Rot, there's an alternate art, and that is the Team Covenant promo. For like the buy a box promo for the set. Team Covenant always gets an alternate art buy a box promo. Sometimes they're bangers, like we got Wrecker Romp in one of them. Sometimes they're misses, like in the last one. What was it? Something Glyph. The card that shuffles back all of your sigils. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like Ancestral Glyph or something. Either way, whether or not it's a banger or it's not a banger, I think it's a good indication of what LSS thinks we're going to be doing with the hero, the direction that they kind of designed the hero in, and the cards they think are going to be good in the hero are probably the ones they want to make promos, right? Maybe it's not like the most broken card ever because they got to give everyone a promo, so it might not always be a hit, but at least it is a good indication of the direction that they want you to take the class, right? So if they are giving us a Spike with Frailty, right, similar to the way they reprinted an alternate art Lightning Press promo, I think it's safe to assume that this is the way that they want us to play Assassin. And it makes a lot of sense, particularly with Slip Through the Cracks, right? Because you could play a 3-card hand, right? Pitch a blue, dagger, stealth with Go Again, and then another stealth or a contract at the end of it. So if you're able to have a 4-card hand and a tunic counter, or no, you don't even need a tunic counter, sorry, because the dagger is going to cost 2, then stealth attack with Go Again, then contract card, and the stealth attack with Go Again, you could also Spike with Blood Rotted or whatever. Either way, I guess you don't have to end on a contract card. You guys know where I'm getting at. This fits in the curve very nicely, and it seems like this is the direction they want us to go. Since the Spike with Blood Rot is coming as an alternate art, I wouldn't particularly recommend picking that one up. It won't be the max rarity of the card anymore as the EA promo from back in the Outsiders days. But the Spike with Frailty seems very good if your opponent is a Draconic Ninja that's trying to attack you with her dagger 4 or 5 times. Seems like the Frailty tokens are going to get you a lot of mileage. So yeah, Spike with Frailty, I think it's going to be very good. The Frailty token, I think it's going to go far. Same goes for other cards like Frailty Trap or Codex of Frailty. Things like that I think are going to be big winners in this upcoming set. Anyway, moving on. Spinal Crush, I think overall, I just bring this card up. I mean, it is kind of crazy that just a regular Majestic from Welcome to Wraith is at $10. A class-specific Majestic from Welcome to Wraith is getting this high. This is like totally abnormal. Welcome to Wraith has never been this high before. And then the rainbows are also crazy. They're at like $30 for the cheapest, and there's only a couple play sets left on the market, and then they're gone for the unlimited rainbow foils. But I bring it up just to talk about like how much of a hit the Armory decks are, and particularly the Armory or the Jarl Armory deck. I've never seen more people excited about a hero, even though the hero is not like broken, he's not like an S tier hero or anything. People are still so excited for it, and I've never seen even broken heroes don't move the market as much as Jarl did. And it's not just a Jarl thing. I think he's like the best example of it. He's had the craziest impact on the market. But we've seen similar trends like Teklo Core. I think we're going to talk about it at some point in this market watch is $12 still. And I think that's just totally solely based off of the Dash.io Armory deck. Despite High Octane getting hit, Dash.io still is like a relevant meta hero, and people are still buying that deck and upgrading it and buying Teklo cores and other pieces for the deck, still moving the market. And Jarl is just making the market go absolutely crazy. Spinal Crush, just one example of this. Cheapest copy, $10. Absolutely insane. Seeds of Tomorrow, probably also a Jarl tech, some Jarl technology here. Cheapest copy on the market is $6.50, which is kind of crazy for this card because on release it was like 50 cents, 25 cents, dollar tops. I think it's very good in Jarl against decks like New, right? So, you know, no matter how many reactions they have, if you're sitting on a Seeds of Tomorrow in your hand, it could, you know, you could probably just cover up most of their reactions with it. It also just prevents the next 5 damage period. It doesn't necessarily have to be all from one source. So if they like attack you with a dagger and you just Seeds, puts them in a really weird spot. They can't just like Codex, leave no you or anything like that. You also could do like some fun tricks against Codex, particularly with this, right? If this is your only card in hand and you have one card in your arsenal and then they Codex, you could be like, oh, okay, Seeds, I don't have to discard anymore. And I put a Enlighten Strike into my arsenal or a Oakenold or whatever it is that you want. So for that reason, I think that's probably what's pushing Seeds of Tomorrow up. Not only that, but the new Verdance specialization that was spoiled. While I don't think it fixes a lot of her matchups, I do think people are very, very excited for that hero, and they probably want to cook with her to some degree. I haven't seen anything like crazy for Verdance moving on the market, but there is a bunch of small stuff like this that I've seen moving, and it's weird because she has a lot of overlap with Jarl, so it's hard to tell with some of these cards. I do think this is a Jarl one though, and it's probably particularly for that new matchup. Felling of the Crown, next card I want to talk about. Man, this card is going absolutely crazy. There's one up here for $54, and that's cheap, believe it or not, because right after that, they jump up to 61. There's only 2 of them, right? So if someone comes in and buys a playset, then it's 65. This is so crazy, considering like Earth is not a top of the meta by any means, right? Mistveil is the top of the meta. And even if you look at heroes under Mistveil, it's like Viserai, Aurora, not Earth heroes by any means. So I think this is the Jarl effect. I think Jarl's just going absolutely crazy. I think Starvo's going crazy. I think people are excited for Verdance. I just think Tails is a cool set and people like those heroes. People like the elemental heroes in general, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think Felling of the Crown, once MST is gone, people will start complaining about this card. I think this card is just totally insane. It just doesn't quite seem that way when we have all of those MST heroes in the meta. Yeah, cheapest copies, just $54. Again, there's only one copy, and then they just go totally buck wild after that. The rainbow foils are like 70s each, and there is only a few playsets of this stuff on the market. Next card I want to talk about is Just a Nick, just because it's going so crazy. Cheapest copy on the market is $17.50. I've always felt that Assassins and Rangers are like new players' favorite, new NEW players' favorite decks, favorite classes to get into the game with. I think it's just that familiarity, right? Like there's a lot of, like that's like kind of even the heroes, like the characters everyone picks when they play video games for the first time is like the Rangers or the Assassins or whatever. There's kind of like the cool characters of every video game, of every like fantasy. So I think when people come to the game to try it for the first time, they always lean towards these Assassins and toward these Rangers. So I expect all of the Assassin cards to go totally buck wild when Hunted drops. And I don't think that this price is crazy. I think that this is going to go higher when Hunted drops. You know, people that are going to be playing in the Hunted probably have never heard of Flesh and Blood right now, right? Maybe next month it's actually going to drop. Then they're going to hear of Flesh and Blood for the first time. Then they're going to want to jump into it. Then they're going to be like, oh, I like Assassins. And there's this new Assassin, Arachne, and I really want to play him. And then they're going to go to upgrade Arachne. And I think all of the Assassin cards, as crazy as they seem right now, as high as they seem right now, I think they're just going to go higher. So yeah, I think Just a Nick, $17.50. I think we're going to look back in this and talk about how we wish we had bought more of them. The rainbow foils are approximately the same price. We have one up here for $19. Then they jump up to like $22. As always, I recommend getting the foil copies because in the long run, as I'm sure you'll see moving on in the rest of this market watch, in the long run, they always pay for themselves, those foils. They go up so much more exponentially than the non-foils. Moving on, I did not script this, but Enlighten Strike, cheapest copy on the market, is $60. A little bit of Staxwell lore here. When I bought my Enlighten Strikes, this was when I first started playing the game years ago, the non-foils I think were like $25, $30, and then the foils were like $35, $40. So I bought the foils just because, like I said before, I feel like they have more long-term value. And yeah, let's just pull up the foils here. Cheapest foils on the market is like $150. So just like a quick example, just to show you how crazy the foils go in comparison to the non-foils, right? The non-foils went up like 2x, right? If they were 30 before, now they're 60. The foils just went 3 or 4x, right? So I always recommend the foils, and I actually think that the foils for E-Strike are very, very good, because for like the last year, E-Strike has been a $40 Majestic. Now it's jumped up to 60. This is a very good sign, just tells us a lot of new players are coming to the game. You know, every time generic staples like this go up, that's just what that is indicative of, right? So a lot of new players entering the game, a lot of new players trying to, you know, get their play sets of these staple cards like Enlighten Strike. So this was $40 for the longest, right? And it has recently spiked up to 60. And a big part of that spike was actually the Black Friday sale, believe it or not. But for like the last year, while E-Strike non-foil was $40, the foils were always $150. So the foils haven't had that huge spike up like the non-foils have recently had, right? The non-foils went from 40 to 60 kind of in the last week or 2 weeks, whereas the rainbow foils haven't really moved in like the last year. They've been 150 pretty steady for like the last year. So I do highly recommend getting the rainbow foils, because it's just a matter of time until they, you know, see these similar spikes in price, right? Moving on, Succumb to Temptation, cheapest copy on the market is $15, going absolutely crazy. Rosetta is just turning out banger after banger with these Majestics. All of these cards were like $1, $2 on pre-release. Succumb to Temptation, Seeds of Tomorrow, Snuff Out. So many of these cards were like just $1 Majestic on release. So it's crazy to see them all climb up so heavily like this. It just is teaching me a very good lesson that when the next set drops, I'm just going to just get my play sets of everything out of the way as soon as I can, and you know, just watch things spike later. I would recommend we do the same. When the new set drops, we'll do a full market watch day one, and we'll kind of go through what we're buying and what we're not buying. But Succumb to Temptation, Snuff Out, Seeds of Tomorrow, these kind of things, good indication that, like, you know, if the Majestics are like $1, $2 on release, yeah, just grab them, because it's only a matter of time till someone wins a tournament with one, and then they just spike up hard, right? This has been going up slowly ever since, you know, Viscera has seen success, which was like right when Rosetta dropped. Moving on, that's all you got. Not a lot of people talking about this one. Cheapest copy on the market is $9 though. Seems like a obvious inclusion in a deck, in a format that is dagger focused, right? If your opponent's throwing a lot of daggers at you, and you're able to block them and draw a card off of the block, seems like a very good exchange. Seems like a no-brainer. Cheapest copy, again, $9. When this card was super meta relevant, which was like during like Kasai or like Fi or something like that. There's been metas where this has come in and out, but during the ones it was in, like when it was like a meta stable card, it was like $15, $20, something like that. And if you think about all of this stuff, it's all in the context of like a year, 2 years ago, and the game has grown so much since then, right? But the stock, the total supply of that all you got, it's not like that's grown 2 times since then, right? So there's still just as many that all you got's out there, and there's twice as many people needing, well, presumably there will be twice as many people needing that all you got next format when it's actually a good card. I also think that all you got is one of those cards that you should just have all the time, like this, Poison the Well, this rounds on me, Hold the Line. These kind of cards like always ebb and flow in and out of the meta, and you should just always have play sets of this stuff. So even if it's not going to be good in the hunted, you still need to be thinking long term, thinking about, is there ever going to be a meta where defending an attack with 2 or less power is going to be very relevant, and then drawing a card? Like, of course this is going to happen. It's not going to be the first time with the hunted. It's not going to be the first time that this meta kind of formulates and allows that all you got to be good, and it's certainly not going to be the last. I think $9 is a fantastic pickup for the card, and the cheapest rainbow foil on the market is like $15. So I think that's close enough to justify buying the rainbow foils. If it's too much of a differential, I think it's not quite worth it, especially on these like side deck ebb and flow type cards. But I do think that the rainbow is worth it here. Moving on, Pulse of Ives and Loth, cheapest copy on the market is $7 shipped. Dang, then it quickly jumps up to like $10. There's only one up here for $7, then it jumps to 10. That's kind of crazy, especially when you pull up and look at the cold foil version of the card. The cold foil is only $30. Plenty of copies up here for the $30 price tag as well. It's a legendary, so you only need one of it, and the cold foil is 30, and the non-foil is 10. This just goes to show you how many people are just trying to buy the cards to play Jarl. They don't care about the foil, the rarity, any of that. Mind-boggling. If I needed a pulse, I would absolutely be buying the cold foil. It's so... Compared to the non-foil, it's so cheap. I can't believe that this price tag, not only has it not moved, it's actually gone down since Jarl's come out. I think people just trying to get rid of them, but they can't. I don't know if people just don't know it comes cold foil or something. Either way, I think it's criminally cheap. I can't believe it's that low. Moving on, Surgical Extraction, cheapest copy on the market is like $20, and the cheapest rainbow foil in the market is that's not, destroyed, moderately played, is $50. Kind of crazy, but yeah, again, people just love Assassin with all of the new Arachne spoilers we've gotten. It comes as no surprise. Like, Arachne just looks sick. Just be honest with ourselves. The hero looks sick. All of the Agents of Chaos look sick. It's no surprise that the Assassin cards are all going up. Leave No Witnesses, no exception to that. I actually was gonna do a market watch. I want to say like 5 days ago. So I had a bunch of tabs open. And then when I came and sat down and I didn't wind up recording it. So then today I came and sat down. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it today. What cards was I talking about last time I was going to do it? What cards was I thinking about recording, And Leave No Witnesses was one of them. This was $19. And I refreshed the page. And then, in the last 4 days, it went from $19 to $30. $30, cheapest copy on the market for Leave No Witnesses. Totally insane. There's 6 non-foils on the market and 4 rainbow foils. It's insane. This is crazy. Assassin hype is full swing here, and the set's not even out yet. And if we learned anything from previous sets or from Jarl, right? When Jarl got announced, you guys remember Stalagmite went from like $15 to $40. And Heart of Ice, same thing, went from like $15 to $40. And Coronet Peak went from like $8 to $20. And it all spiked on announcement. But then on release, Stalagmite went to $100. Heart of Ice went to $70. Coronet Peak went to $40. Like, everything went crazy on announcement and then went buck wild on release. And I'm kind of afraid that that's going to happen with the Assassin cards as well. That's why I was saying earlier that just a nick, just buy it. I feel like it's gonna go up. And yeah, I feel like that with all the Assassin cards. Under the same logic, I feel like that. Unsheathed is actually going down. Good news. I think people have finally read it and realized it says sword, not dagger. Cheapest copy on the market is $11. So I think it's probably worth picking up now. I think it's cheap enough now to justify okay, it's probably worth picking up. The rainbow foil is still kind of crazy though. Cheapest copy on the market is $24. So I would just get the non-foils. I don't think that it's close enough to be able to justify it. I think it's too far gone at this point. You get a play set for the price of a rainbow, right? So, or you could nearly get a play set for the price of the rainbow. I would just rather get the non-foils. Weakest Link, cheapest copy on the market is $65. I wonder if or when this is ever going to eclipse Command and Conquer. And it just seems like this keeps getting, every set, this card just keeps getting better and better. If you don't have a playset of this, it's kind of just, before it was always you need your Tunic, you need your E-Strikes, and you need your CNCs, and then you can start playing Flesh and Blood. How soon do we start including Weakest Link in that list? It's so crazy. I think Ira actually had a big part in the pushing up of this card. Just being able to Kodachi into CNC or Kodachi into Weakest Link. I think that's a big part of what's pushing this card so hard. Plan for the Worst, next card I want to talk about. Cheapest copy on the market is only $2 shipped. You could probably find someone who has multiple copies here and kind of bundle and save some money. But Plan for the Worst is the obvious card that they want you to play with that new Riptide Trap. So yeah, if you don't have a playset and you're at all, I guess it's not only a Riptide trap, it's a Ranger trap. But if you're at all interested in that Ranger trap or in that kind of play style, I highly recommend having a playset of Plan for the Worst before it tops a tournament, before it comes out and people start building it. Same with Three of a Kind, all of the same reasons. Three of a Kind combos very well with that trap card. It's only a matter of time until we get Ranger support. Who knows what the new Ranger is going to look like? I'm wondering if we're going to get like an Armory deck for the Ranger or something. It's just been so long since we've had Ranger support. I am kind of like, I had a moment where I was just kind of like, oh man, we're going to get one so soon. I'm kind of afraid that it's going to come out and I'm not going to have anything. So on Black Friday, I went and bought all the Ranger cards, and Three of a Kind was one of them. So it's kind of nice that we also got the trap spoiled that combos very nicely with Three of a Kind. I don't know, maybe that's too cute to play. But even if it is too cute to play, I think Three of a Kind, Endless Arrow, Plan for the Worst, these kind of cards like are gonna be broken one day. Like all it takes is a new Ranger coming out, right? Is a new set, honestly, right? Because sets normally introduce 2 of the hero, right? So we're getting 2 assassins in the next set. We just got 2 wizards. We just got 2 rune blades. So if we got 2 Rangers, like these kind of cards would just go so crazy overnight, and I would just hate for them to announce it, for these cards to go crazy overnight, and then you not have any. So yeah, I highly recommend picking this stuff up. Another thing I want to talk about with Endless Arrow specifically is it's a super rare. And, super rare was meant to be like this rarity between majestic and rare. And for the longest time, it was just bulk, basically. When I sorted all my bulk, it's literally in the bulk. Like the super rares were nothing back then. So I got to dig through it all and find all the super rares and take them out, because super rares are actually worth something now. Look at this. The cheapest super rare Endless Arrow is $5.30. And the other super rares are expensive too. Think like Ninth Blade of the Arc Knight, right? That card's also expensive. That card's also around the $5 price tag. So yeah, super rare I just don't want you guys to miss out on is Remembrance. It always comes in and out of the meta. It hasn't been in for a while, so I feel like people are kind of, no pun intended, unironically forgetting about Remembrance. So yeah, remember to buy Remembrances. But yeah, you only need you only need 1. I feel like most of the time decks only play 1. But I highly recommend at least having the 1. You don't want to be caught without a Remembrance in a fatigue format, or at least in a format where fatigue exists. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Cheapest copy is only $3. Pick it up while you can. Stalagmite, we already talked about it, $100. This KO Armory deck has done things to the market that I didn't think were possible. I love it. It's just so crazy. It's just like, for the longest time, it was just fun to open TCG Player. Like if I was bored, some people check Facebook, some people check Twitter or whatever. I was checking TCG Player. I'm like, what's going on? Oh my God, Stalagmite's at 100. It was always just some fun new wacky spike every day, it felt like. Commanding Performance, we already talked about that. Sorry, I had it up twice there. Ira, the Scarlet Revenger, cheapest copy on the market is $12.22. And I bring this up to say, when it first came out, it was like $20, $25, something like that. That was like the first price it kind of stabilized at. And then it slowly trickled down. But now it's actually hitting the reverse and going up. So yeah, it got as low as $10. Now it's up to $12.22. If you don't have a copy of this, you really, really should have one, because it was a promo in this weird to obtain kind of way. I just don't want you to need to play the hero one day and then you can't because you don't have it, right? So same thing kind of happened with Blaze. Came out, it was very cheap, and then when Skirmish season hit later on, the card kind of went crazy, just because it was just kind of limited in the way you had to get it. And if you have a tournament coming up and you need the card, you need the card. It doesn't really matter what it costs. If you need it, you're gonna buy it. Speaking of cheapest spring tunic on the market, the Welcome to Wraith foil spring tunic, cheapest one on the market is $183, going absolutely crazy. Again, another fantastic sign for the overall health of the game. This just goes to show that a bunch of new players are getting into the game and picking up their spring tunics. The other ones are also quite expensive. Obviously not as expensive as the foil. The white border and the bright lights one and everything aren't going to be as expensive as the foil. But yeah, I just want to bring this one up just to show how crazy this market is, how crazy everything is. These last 3 sets have done things for Flesh and Blood that's just totally crazy. The player base has just exploded in the last 3 sets. It's insane. Mask of Momentum, cheapest copy on the market is $75. Makes a lot of sense. I think it's almost guaranteed that Syndra is going to be playing Mask of Momentum just because she has so much good Flick Knife synergy. So I think I've explained it before, but I'll say it one more time. If you like, so say she's like a dagger attack hero, right? So if you go like dagger, and then typically what you'd want to do is you want to block the second attack, because the third attack, your ninja opponent could play like an attack reaction and come over the top and then still draw on you. And that feels terrible. So you block the second attack so you don't have to worry about as many tricks on the third attack, because if they do a trick and get over you, it's okay because they're at least not drawing a card off of it. So people like to block the second chain link to kind of play around these attack reactions. But if they block the second chain link and you're Syndra, you know, you go dagger, and they block that, you could Flick Knives the first dagger, and since it counts as a hit, it'll keep your chain going with Mask of Momentum. You couldn't like draw with it on the third chain link because you're hitting with a weapon and not an attack action, like Mask of Momentum kind of commands you to. But yeah, interesting stuff. I think she'll play Mask of Momentum for that reason alone. But who knows? Lynx is also busted. I'm sure she'll at least play it in some matchups. Cheapest copy, $75. With her and Ira kind of pushing this card, I think it's a pretty safe investment either way. Even if she doesn't play it, Ira does, and Ira is a very, very powerful hero. Moving on, Bloodied Oval. This is a surprising one, a common from Heavy Hitters. Cheapest copy on the market is $26. And this is actually held relatively firm for quite some time. So check through your bulk. You might have some value you didn't know you had. And, you know, when you're drafting or opening bulk or boxes in the future, hold on to these cold foil commons. You really don't ever know which one's going to be good. You know, at the time when Heavy Hitters came out, surely no one thought that Bloodied Oval was going to be a $25 cold foil. That is for certain. Also, goes to show, right? When this card came out, it was probably 25 cents or something like that for even the cold foil. So yeah, just pick up this stuff. Like, we'll have to do a market watch when this new set comes out, and we'll just pick up everything that's like reasonably priced. Some stuff is like unreasonable, right? So the legendaries tend to be way too high, and then they all come down to reality. And then most of the Majestics that aren't like, you know, if all the content creators and whatnot are hyping up a certain Majestic, it'll also be way too high. But for the most part, like the baseline Majestics are all way too low, and then they come up as the set progresses in life, right? So I guess that's what we got to identify and look at next set. But yeah, Bloody Oval would have been one of them. Very crazy that it's a $25 card now. Sigil of Brilliance, the Marvel, cheapest copy on the market is $153. Absolutely insane. There's only 2 left on the market as well. All of the sigils are kind of crazy. Like Sigil of Lightning is also $46 for some reason. I think that there must be a lot of Auxilio enjoyers blinging out their deck. I have no idea how they're affording to do that. But yeah, all the sigils are going totally crazy, and Sigil of Brilliance is like the most blatant example of it. Balance of Justice going down quite a bit. It makes a lot of sense with the book burning, the book banning and whatnot. So most decks can't really draw 2 anymore. If most decks can't draw 2, then Crown of Provenance is probably just better because every deck plays CNC and you want a way out of CNC. Whereas Balance of Justice just isn't quite as flexible. Upside is better, but again, it's like it's so rare that you play an opponent that could draw 2. It's really just Brute. That's really the only reliable one that I could think of off the top of my head. But yeah, $100 for the cheapest rainbow foil. This is, I think, cheaper than I've ever seen it. So if you don't have it, I would recommend picking it up because it's only a matter of time till decks start drawing 2 again. This card is also really, really, really good in the Living Legend format. So yeah, it's gonna see its day again. It's probably lower than it's ever going to be right now. Until a reprint, this is probably as low as it's ever going to be. Moving on, Spellbound Creepers is going up quite a bit. Last time we talked about it, it was 100. Now it's at 126. Makes a lot of sense with Viscerai just going so crazy lately. Makes a lot of sense that this card's going up. Command and Conquer, cheapest copy on the market, is $102. It is kind of crazy, but yeah, like we said with Tunic and like we said with E-Strike, these generic staple cards going up. Fantastic sign for the game. I do want to bring up the rainbow foils of these are also $156, which doesn't make any sense, right? Because think about E-Strike is $60 and the foil E-Strike is $150. And then Command and Conquer is $100, and the foil Command and Conquer is $150. That math doesn't make sense to me. Make that make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I'm thinking that CNC foil is way too cheap. I know I'm saying it's way too cheap. It's $150 for a piece of cardboard. But compared to E-Strike, which is like the most comparable card out there, right? It's also a generic, majestic foil staple. That price differential shouldn't be like that. They should like mirror each other more. I know Arcane Rising was like a smaller print run, but you would think it would be like foil E-Strike would be 50, or foil E-Strike would be 100, and then regular E-Strike would be 50, and then foil CNC would be 200, and then regular CNC would be 100. Like it should be like comparable in some facet like that, right? But it's just not. All the foils are 150. Makes no sense. I think they're all too cheap. Moving on, the KO Armory deck. I know a lot of people got into the game and started playing with this exact thing. Would you believe me if I told you the cheapest copy for a sealed KO Armory deck on the market is $75? If you don't have a Savage Sash, you need one. You absolutely need one. Cheapest Savage Sash on the market is $25. And you might not need all the rest of the cards in the KO Armory deck. But when the next Brute comes out, you better believe that they're going to consider playing Savage Sash. If they have any amount of go again, they're going to play Savage Sash. So yeah, I highly recommend picking one up, especially with these KO decks disappearing. If you have any on your shelves at locals, hopefully they're still selling it for MSRP, which I think was $40. Because yeah, the $75 price tag is totally crazy. Moving on, all of the widespread extended art cards, widespread destruction, widespread ruin, all of them are $60 now. They have all gone totally crazy off of the spoiler for the new Cull card, Cull, Cull. That card seems totally broken. And then also RuneGate Chain got top 8 in the Living Legend format, which is pretty sick. Dust Till Dawn is just a banger, bro. Every Majestic and everything from Dust Till Dawn, just slowly, like one by one, they all just pop off. And yeah, the EA widespreads are just the latest ones to do it. Moving on, the Lightning Rune Chant. This is a quick one. Rainbow Foil Lightning Rune Chant. I think you got this from like the pre-release promo pack. It's only $4. So it's like a nice middle rarity for the people who missed out on the cold foil rune chants. I think it's a great pickup. Only $4 for a foil, alternate art promo. I think it's a good deal. Moving on, Remorseless, cheapest copy on the market. There's a couple mod plays up here for $12 each, and then they jump up to $15. And it does sound expensive, but imagine when a new Ranger comes out. Like, I seriously want to drill in your guys' heads that you need the Ranger cards before we get a new Ranger. I don't know how else to say it. But yeah, cheapest copy on the market. We'll just say it's $15. It's going to sound cheap, when we get the new Rangers, when Riptide finally becomes a player in the meta. The Rainbow Foils are about $20 right now. Teklo Core, we kind of touched on this earlier. Cheapest Teklo Core on the market is $13, and the cheapest Rainbow Foil is $20. Again, people picking up that -IO Armory deck, people, upgrading it and everything. These Armory decks have done so much for the game. I love to see it. It's just crazy to see Teklo Core this expensive. The Cold Foil Teklo Core, though, is surprisingly going down. Let's pull that up because I actually think that's kind of interesting. I didn't have it pulled up here. The Cold Foil Teklo Core used to be like $55, $60. Is down to $45 now. Kind of an interesting tidbit. Waxoff, cheapest copy on the market, is $11.50. I think that this card could even see it's spiked now. That's why we brought it up. I think it could spike again when the new heroes come out, right? Syndra mirrors, right? If Syndra's going to be attacking you with a bunch of small pokes, right? A bunch of small dagger attacks. They're all going to be coming in for one. A Zen State seems like it's going to pull a lot of weight there. I think it's possible that Waxoff, again, spikes up quite high. Moving into the Hunted set. In the Swing, I think it's going to be a good one as well. Play In the Swing if you've attacked 2 or more times with a weapon. Target weapon attack gets +3. This is the Alt Art Team Covenant promo, the Buy a Box promo, and it's only $13. I think it's like criminally cheap right now for a card that's nearly guaranteed to see play. You're always going to attack twice with your weapons, and a 0 for 3 at reaction speed. That blocks 3 is just a fantastic rate. Moving on, Flame Call Awakening, another steal on the market, $7 for the cheapest EA Flame Call Awakening. So the lore behind the Flame Call Awakenings and the Phoenix Flames and whatnot, I got this wrong. Someone pointed out in my comment section, so I wish I remembered their name, but shout out to them. I guess the Phoenix Flames and whatnot, the Phoenix is like a symbol of the uprising. So like Phi was a part of that uprising, and that was like symbolic to that uprising. It's actually not tied to the draconic talent at all. It's more tied to that like story arc, I guess you could say. With that being said, I think it's weird. I think it's pretty safe to assume we're still going to see some ties to that storyline. Maybe it's an expansion slot card or something like that. But I do think there's going to be callbacks to the Phoenix Flame stuff. I think there will be some kind of Phoenix Flame synergies. And even if not, I think already just the Phoenix Flame cards we have between Flame Call Awakening and Phi's Hero Power and whatnot, I think it's already good enough to say that this is a steal. $7 for this, totally buck wild. When this card was like meta, right? When just Dromai was meta, not even Phi. When just Dromai was meta, this card was like $15, $20, somewhere in that range. And also, Phi is going to be legal when the Hunted comes out. Probably not for very long, assuming that like we get good support in the Hunted. But he is going to be legal. And Flame Call Awakening is obviously a very good card in at least Phi. I imagine it would be good in Syndra as well. Spreading Flames, this card seems totally broken. I bet you people are going to start complaining about this card and want it to be banned. Draconic attacks you control have +1 power, while their base power is less than the number of Draconic chainlinks you control. Just Draconic attacks. So if the daggers are Draconic, which they have to be based on Syndra's text, her text is get 2 Draconic daggers back from your graveyard. It would make no sense for her to have that hero power and Draconic daggers don't exist, right? So we know Draconic daggers are coming, and Spreading Flames seems crazy with Draconic daggers, especially when there's cards in this set that say you could attack with your weapon additional times, right? So if you go Spreading Flames and attack with 4 daggers, like do the math, that's crazy value. It's what, 2 blues, and then all the daggers would be 2, 2, 2, 2, plus Spreading Flames is 3. That's like what, 12 for 3 cards, 3 card 12. It's insane. It's totally crazy. Spreading Flames, if you don't have it and you're interested in Syndra, you need to have 3 of this card. It's totally crazy. I'm curious what the rainbow is. I haven't seen yet. Rainbow's just as cheap. The rainbow's the same price as the non-foil. It's all $5. You need to have a playset of these. Moving on, Infiltrate, cheapest copy on the market, is $10. Dang, that's crazy. It makes a lot of sense though, because if Arachne Slip Through the Cracks is a CC hero now, your first stealth attack gets Go Again. Infiltrate was always kind of weird because it didn't have Go Again, so it's like you hit, they banish the top card. Cool, you could play it on your next turn, but you couldn't play it right away, and then they knew it was coming at them at their next turn and whatnot, so they could kind of set up and kind of play around it in a way. But now it has Go Again, right? So you could like Infiltrate, take the top card of their deck, and then play that card immediately on that turn. So if they're trying to hold one card to hammer you, or whatever they want to do with their one card, right? Maybe it's a snatch, maybe it's a it's a blues, so they could pitch and Titan's Fist you or something, right? They're gonna be thinking about it a lot more now, because it's not just 3 damage. 3 damage might banish a snatch off the top of their deck, right? So then it's like 3 into snatch, which could just be totally crazy. Put your opponent in a lot more weird spots now. So I could see why it's going up. Cheapest copy on the market, $10. All the assassin stuff's going up. Again, it just looks cool. It totally makes sense that it's all going up. Moving on, Siren's Call. While this is an assassin card, it has nothing to do with the new stuff that's coming out. It has to do with the old stuff, which is the NUU new stuff. But yeah, cheapest copy on the market is like $6, $7. Another good example of Majestic spiking so far after release, right? This card was 25 cents. This card was $1. I think I literally gave this away to people because it was so cheap. It just wasn't worth the time to sell it on TCG Player and put a stamp on it. It just wasn't even worth it to me. So someone asked for it. I'm like, yeah, take it, whatever. I don't care. But now $7, cheapest copy on the market. Totally crazy. So yeah, we need to learn a lesson from this. We need to have our play sets of all these Majestics when the new set comes out. That's all I got for you guys today. This was a long one. Sorry for yapping on y'all, but Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to the Yap. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, subscribe, and help the algorithm help me out just a little bit. If you're going to pick up Siren's Call or anything else we talked about on today's Market Watch, please do so using the TCG Player affiliate link in the description below. It costs you absolutely nothing, and a small portion of it goes to help the channel. Later, gamers.